Rain hammered the black sea like drums of war. Wind rose in sharp knives. 6 Raven-class drones circled the cliff, keeping a cruel rhythm. 3 beats. Pause. Dive. Their metal feathers sang against the storm, each note tuned to break courage. A lyra ne hung from iron arch spikes driven into wet rock. Bio-cables bound her wrists, humming with low current. Enough to hurt, not enough to kill. Salt glazed her green skin in a thin crust. Her cloak was ribbons. Her back was raw lines of red. She did not scream now. She watched. She counted. She endured. The lead drone hovered close. Its voice was clean and empty. Target stable. Interrogators in 1 hour. Do you prefer sleep or pain? A lyra lifted her head. Water ran from her hair like ink. I prefer better questions. Lightning split the sky. In that white flash, she saw him. A figure walking the cliff path like he owned the storm. Long coat snapping. Boots steady on slick stone. A small flame cupped in one hand lit a cigarette that refused to die. It was a stubborn little miracle in a brutal night. Cade Riven stopped 20 feet away. He did not shout. He shaped the air with a soldier's voice. Directorate of Final Say. Red Scar Tango. The drones paused. 3 shifted into a defensive triangle. Good machines. Fast math. Wrong story. Cade studied the woman on the hooks. The file had said, Verdant, photosynthetic, dangerous. The file had not said, spine straight, eyes bright, dignity heavier than chains. He took one long drag and exhaled slow. A lyra ne? If I say yes, she said, what then? Then my name becomes your last word. She almost smiled. Take me down, last word. I say goodbye better on my feet. Something small moved in Cade's face. A hairline crack in hard glass. He pulled a chrome whistle from his pocket and a narrow maintenance key shaped like a tooth. He raised the whistle and blew. 3 short, 1 long. The drones twitched, optics stuttering at the pattern. He stepped in close. Look at my left eye, he told A lyra. Only my left. Is this romance? She asked. It's math. Metal met metal as he pressed the key to her left shackle. The drones flagged the contact as a threat. Their matrices, shaken by the whistle and her fixed stare, reached a bad conclusion. They struck the lock. 12 cuts in 4 seconds. The shackle shattered. Blood rushed back into A lyra's arm like fire. Cade moved to the right side. Blew again. Pressed again. The drones repeated their mistake. The second lock failed. A lyra dropped to her knees. She braced, stood, swayed, then held. Even broken, she moved like a dancer who knew where every muscle belonged. Boots clattered up the path. 3 local enforcers in rain-slicked cloaks raised pulse rifles. Their leader's eyes glowed pale blue. Agent Riven, you had orders. I did, Cade said. Stand aside. We will finish it. No. The leader drew. Cade moved first. Not loud. Not wild. Exact. A grip to the throat. A twist to the knee. A touch to a power coupling that sent a hot surge through their shared combat net. Cloaks died. Optics died. The drones, confused and angry, found a nearer threat and fell on the enforcers like a steel flock. 8 seconds of screaming. 30 more of feeding code. A lyra watched with flat calm. The Directorate will never forgive this. The Directorate never forgives, Cade said. That makes them simple. He crushed a calm bead under his heel. Recovery requested. He lied into the wind. Corvid malfunction. Then he turned, met A lyra's eyes, and shrugged out of his coat. He set it on her shoulders. Heat lived there. She leaned into it without thinking. Can you run? He asked. I can do what is needed. Good. We have 40 minutes before the next wave. They left the cliff and the metal birds and the broken men. The storm began to thin. Stars pressed through torn cloud like small, patient lanterns. Behind them, alarms woke across a network that had built empires from endings. Ahead, a narrow path fell into the dark veins of the port. Cade went first now. A lyra's hand found his in the rain. Her skin was warm. His grip was sure. The footing felt less mad. The sea roared behind them like a rule they had chosen to break. The door sealed behind them with a tired sigh, like the apartment itself had given up years ago. It smelled of rust, dust, and fake life. Speakers whispered the sound of a couple arguing, then laughing, then turning on a news feed. A loop, made to fool listening drones. Everything here was built to lie. Cade Riven ran his thumb across the wall's crackling pad. Lights stuttered on. Weak, flickering, almost embarrassed to work. The place was small, one cot, one sink, one window filled with city rot. But to two hunted souls, it felt like breathing space. Alira sat on the edge of the cot, her wet cloak steaming. Her skin glowed faintly where it wasn't torn. Photosynthetic light pulsed under her bruises, slow but steady, like stubborn hope refusing to die. "Nice prison," she said. "Safer than freedom tonight," Cade answered. He opened a metal box marked medical, do not remove. Inside were synth patches, nano thread, and a needle injector. His hands moved like machines, fast but careful. Alira winced once, maybe twice. "You patch wounds like someone who's done this too often." 47 times, he said, sealing a cut. 47 ends to 47 stories. "And now you've changed the ending?" He didn't look up. "Maybe I just wanted to see what happened if I didn't write the last line." She studied him. The scar under his left eye. The calm behind his words. Something familiar tugged at memory. Then it hit her like lightning. Revel Port. 2 decades ago. A stolen beacon ship. A boy. "You had a ship once," she said softly. "The Kestrel." Cade froze, hands still on the injector. His jaw tightened. "You filed salvage papers. Said I was late on fees." "You were." "I was in medical." His voice turned sharp. "Knife wound courtesy of your friends." "I don't have friends," she said. "Just debts." Silence stretched between them, filled with the sound of synthetic rain on fake windows. "You've changed," she added, eyes narrowing. "Harder. Colder. But those hands, they still remember something gentler." He turned away. "The directorate trained that out of me." "They tried," she said, watching him. "But they failed." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, copper catching faint light. A pendant in the shape of a bird. A kestrel. Its edges worn smooth by years of touch. Her breath caught. "That can't be." "You tied it around my neck," he said. "Told me to find my way home." "That boy," she whispered. "You were a child." "I was hungry," Cade said. "And you didn't turn me in." The sound of the storm outside faded, replaced by the electric hum of realization. For a moment, the safe house felt less like a cage and more like a confession booth. "Why save me now?" Alira asked, voice quieter than the machine's. "You owe me nothing. I stole from you." Cade looked at her for a long time. "You gave me something first. You gave me purpose before they gave me orders." He placed the injector back into the box, hands steady again. "I thought I was the directorate's perfect weapon. Turns out I was just a man waiting for a reason to miss." Something flickered outside the cracked window, shadows sliding across neon. A passing patrol. Cade dimmed the lights and reached for the noise emitter. He adjusted the loop. Now it played the sounds of soft laughter, spoons against plates, the ordinary lie of domestic peace. When the patrol passed, Alira asked, "So what happens now, last word?" He leaned against the wall, eyes on her. "Now we disappear. And after that," he smiled faintly, a tired smile that looked like hope trying to remember itself. "After that, we start rewriting what the directorate thinks is the end." The hum of the safe house deepened, like it understood. Outside, thunder rolled away from the city. Inside, 2 ghosts, one human, one verdant, sat in borrowed light, trying to remember what it felt like to be alive. They did not yet know that the directorate was already listening, or that the next time lightning touched the sky, the hunt would begin again. The tunnels breathed like something alive. Pipes hissed, dripping steam into darkness. Rusted railings glowed faint orange where old heat still bled through the metal. Every sound echoed wrong, half a second too long, like ghosts repeating themselves. Cade Riven moved first, his pistol low, eyes sharp. The directorate had built these underveins long ago, veins beneath the city's bones. They had forgotten them, but Cade never forgot what the directorate discarded. Behind him, Alira followed, silent but glowing faintly, her green skin casting ghost light across wet walls. "This place smells like old secrets," she whispered. "That's because it is," he said. "Every regime buries what it fears. The directorate just buried everything." They passed through a narrow corridor where old graffiti clung to the concrete. Names, dates, a child's drawing of a bird. Alira brushed her fingers over it, and for a moment, light followed her touch, as if the wall remembered warmth. Cade watched her carefully. "You used to run these tunnels, didn't you?" "Before they turned on my kind," she said. "We built things here. Gardens under pipes. Markets under the rails. Now it's just dust and memory. He said nothing. Only the low hum of his pulse beacon broke the silence. It scanned the air for pursuit, one soft ping every 10 seconds. After the 10th ping, the sound stopped. Kate froze. They're jamming us. How close? Too close. A low metallic cry echoed through the tunnel. Then another. Raven-class drones, same pattern as before. They shouldn't have been able to track them this deep. Someone had given orders with precision. Alira's eyes flashed gold. They won't stop. They don't have to, Cade said, drawing his blade. We just have to move faster than their math. They ran. The tunnels tilted downward, spiraling toward the geothermal heart of the city. Steam burst from vents in rhythmic bursts, hiding and revealing them like a heartbeat. Behind them, the first drone screeched, its sensors cutting through the mist. Cade fired once, pulse round to the ceiling. The structure groaned, then collapsed in a cascade of metal and water. The tunnel filled with boiling mist. The drone's sensors failed instantly, burning out with a static shriek. Alira stumbled, clutching her ribs. The healing from earlier was cracking open again. Cade caught her before she fell. You're burning out, he said. She smiled weakly. So are you. For a heartbeat, they were just two survivors, trapped between fire and pursuit. Then she lifted her chin. Left tunnel ahead. I know where it leads. They turned and slipped into a passage barely wide enough for one person. Pipes pressed against their shoulders. Water trickled from the ceiling like sweat. It ended in a hollow chamber. Alira touched a wall panel hidden under grime and whispered, "Still working." A pulse of green light answered. The wall opened, revealing a room full of old technology, servers, data vaults, energy cells flickering like dying stars. "This is your base?" Kate asked. "Used to be," she said, before the Directorate decided Verdans didn't deserve air. Kate looked around. "You kept it intact." "No," she said quietly. "It kept itself. Verdans built things that wanted to live." He almost smiled. "Maybe that's why they feared you." The moment fractured as a low rumble shook the floor. Static filled the air, sharp and painful. Lights flickered. A mechanical voice broke through the noise. "Agent Riven. Surrender." It was calm. Familiar. Director Morin. Cade stared at the ceiling like he could see through it. "They're here." "How?" "They followed the noise we made running." Alira met his gaze. "You go? I'll slow them down." He shook his head. "You die?" "I can't die easily," she said, a smile ghosting across her lips. "And someone has to live long enough to tell the truth." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We both live, or none of this matters." Before she could answer, a beam of white light cut through the tunnel behind them. Armored shapes moved in, 20 shadows wrapped in black armor that drank the light. Director Morin's voice echoed again, this time with smug patience. "Agent Riven, you've gone rogue, but you can still be saved." Cade's hand brushed the copper kestrel around his neck. His voice came out calm, steady. "Funny. That's exactly what she said to me once." Alira glanced at him, understanding dawning. "You're not surrendering, are you?" "Not tonight." He turned, fired twice at the ceiling. The chamber exploded in light and dust. Pipes ruptured. Steam swallowed everything. Through the chaos, they ran deeper, chased by the sound of machine wings and the voice of authority. Above them, the city hummed with life that didn't know the storm was already rising below its feet. The city above never slept, but down here, time was broken. Cade Riven sat in the dark, listening to water drip from rusted pipes. His hand rested on the old pistol across his knees. Each droplet echoed like a countdown. They had taken Alira. He could still see the flash of her emerald skin as she was dragged into the light. Her voice sharp in his earpiece before the connection cut. "Don't come for me." Not this time. He came anyway. The Directorate's mobile command center crouched in the plaza like a black insect, its hull shimmering with wet neon. Drones circled above it, scanning the rain. Cade walked straight toward it, unarmed, hood down, shoulders squared. The watchers on the wall didn't move to stop him. They knew who he was. They also knew what he'd done. Inside, the air smelled of cold metal and fear. Analysts murmured at glowing consoles. Officers avoided eye contact. At the center table stood Director Morin, tall, calm, the kind of man who believed control was a birthright. "Agent Riven," he said without looking up, "you've made quite a mess." "I've always been good at cleanup," Cade replied. Morin smiled thinly. "We could have killed you hours ago." You still could. But you won't. The director finally turned to face him. And why is that? Because you want to understand why. Why I broke pattern. Why I saved her. Morin stepped closer, studying him like a specimen. You saved a terrorist. I saved a person. Words, Morin said. You used to understand that reality doesn't bend for words. Cade reached into his coat and set something on the table. A small data chip. Old. Scratched. Reality bends for evidence. Morin hesitated before taking it. He inserted the chip into his console. The screen filled with files, black operations, erased names, deleted missions suddenly restored. Video clips. Voices. Dead faces. Morin's jaw tightened. You've been keeping records. For 25 years. You've just committed treason. No, Cade said softly. You did. I just kept the receipts. The room went still. Even the hum of the server racks seemed to hold its breath. Morin gestured to the guards. You think this protects you? It doesn't protect me. It protects her. Who? The Verdant? She's irrelevant. She's the key, Cade said, stepping closer, voice dropping to a whisper meant to pierce. And you know it. Morin's eyes narrowed. The child. Cade said nothing. Morin exhaled slowly. So it's true. The girl who can interface without hardware. The one who reads quantum stacks like a language. Cade looked down at the glowing table. You tortured her mother for coordinates. You called it containment. I call it fear. Morin's composure cracked for just a second. That child is a weapon. She can break systems built to control civilizations. That's what makes her human, Cade said. We've been building weapons for decades. We finally built something better. Morin's tone turned sharp. You brought the directorate shame, Riven. You disobeyed. You killed 3 of our own. They tried to kill the only person who remembered who I used to be. Morin tilted his head, like an old vulture pretending curiosity. And who were you, before we made you? Cade smiled faintly. A boy hiding in a cargo hold. Starving. Scared. Saved by someone who didn't ask why. For a long moment, no one spoke. The rain outside struck the hull like static. Morin looked down at the glowing table again. You want a deal? I want her released. Impossible. You have 30 seconds to decide before I transmit everything in that chip to the Senate's Ethics Committee. The feed's already live. You're bluffing. Cade flicked his wrist. The holoscreen beside them lit up, an encrypted channel already running, broadcasting data into the void. Morin's face drained of color. Shut it down, he snapped at his techs. But every command returned the same error. Access denied. Root control. K.Riven. Morin stared at him. What do you want, really? Cade's eyes were steady. An end that isn't an execution. Morin's voice dropped. If I let you walk, you vanish. You don't exist. You're a ghost. Good, Cade said. Ghosts move freely. The director pressed a button. A side door hissed open. Guards led in Alira. She looked weak, half-conscious, but alive. Her eyes met Cade's, and that was enough. You have your terrorist, Morin said. Now leave. Cade handed him one last object, the small copper kestrel pendant. Hold this. Just for luck. Morin frowned but took it. The moment he did, the hidden charge inside the pendant activated, erasing every file in the directorate system with one quiet flash of light. Luck, Cade said, turning away. You'll need it. As the alarms began to howl, Cade and Alira disappeared into the night. Behind them, Director Morin stared at the dark screens, realizing too late that the ghosts he'd created had learned how to haunt back. The rain had finally stopped. The city steamed like a giant engine cooling down after battle. Somewhere far below, a metal hatch opened with a deep groan, and Cade Riven climbed out first, half-carrying Illyria. They had escaped the directorate again, but escape was never freedom, only a pause. The underlevel air smelled of oil, iron, and quiet rebellion. Neon filtered through cracks above, painting the tunnel walls in streaks of fading color. Alira's legs trembled, but she walked. Her strength was returning, her biolight pulsing faintly under her bruised skin. Cade guided her through a half-flooded corridor toward a sealed vault door, its surface carved with ancient warning sigils. Here, he asked. She nodded weakly. She's inside. The door recognized Alira's touch and hissed open with reluctant grace. A soft light filled the chamber, warm, golden, and strangely alive. In the center stood a girl. Small, quiet, barefoot on a steel floor. Her skin glowed a pale green threaded with thin, silver veins. Her eyes shimmered like 1,000 data streams dancing across water. Kate froze. This is her. Lyra smiled faintly. This is Tressa. The girl tilted her head, studying him with unnerving calm. You're the man who broke their code, she said, voice clear, layered with faint echoes like harmonics. You made the Directorate lose control of its own systems. I saw it ripple. You were watching? Kate asked. I see everything connected, she said simply. Machines talk. I listen. Kate exchanged a look with Lyra. She doesn't need tech support, he muttered. Tressa walked closer, small footsteps soundless on the metal. You're carrying 17 trackers, she said. 3 inside you. Lyra blinked. Inside him? Tressa nodded. At the base of his skull, left wrist, and right shoulder. Would you like me to turn them off? Kate hesitated. Can you? Not off, she said, smiling. Gone. She lifted her hand. No sparks. No machines. Just a quiet shimmer of air. Then Kate felt it. Heat, deep under his skin, sharp but quick. The hum of hidden tech faded. Silence filled its place. Tressa lowered her hand. Now you're nobody. Kate flexed his wrist, astonished. You burn Directorate implants without tools. I don't burn, she said softly. I edit. For a long moment. The only sound was the hum of old power cells in the chamber walls. Then Lyra exhaled, a sound halfway between relief and awe. She's what they fear, Kate said. Not because she's dangerous, but because she's free. Tressa looked up at him. They built me to serve, she said. But you can't serve what you outgrow. Kate knelt. I level with her. You understand what happens if they find you. They'll try to rewrite me, Tressa said. But I've already seen their code. It's boring. Lyra laughed softly, though it sounded like it hurt. You see why I had to protect her. Kate nodded. Now we protect each other. He glanced around the vault. Is this all the tech you have? More than you think, Tressa replied. She touched the wall. Lines of light rippled outward like veins waking up. Consoles flickered on, screens showing star maps, ship registries, and old Directorate data routes. At the center of it all was a ship schematic. Sleek, fast, predatory in design. Its name blinked across the display. Kestrel 2. Kate's breath caught. You rebuilt her? Not rebuilt, Lyra said. Reborn. I've been gathering her parts for years. Tressa smiled. I finished the design. Kate stared at the glowing model of the ship. She's beautiful. She's functional. Tressa corrected, with a tiny smirk. Lyra touched the screen. She can fly us beyond their reach. But only if her captain is ready. Kate met her eyes. You mean me? You're the only one who still knows how to disappear properly, she said. He took a long breath, staring at the holographic vessel. For the first time in decades, he didn't feel like a weapon. He felt like a man about to choose his own direction. Then we fly, he said quietly. Tonight. Tressa nodded once, the silver in her veins pulsing brighter. The engines are already humming. They've been waiting for you. As the vault door sealed behind them, Kate could swear the walls sighed, not in warning this time, but in relief. Outside, the Directorate would soon discover that one of their oldest ghosts had vanished again. But this time, he wasn't running. He was taking the storm with him. The hangar was buried under a mile of forgotten city, hidden beneath old transit lines and collapsed power grids. It had once belonged to the Directorate, back when control still felt eternal. Now it belonged to ghosts. The Kestrel 2 waited in silence, sleek, angular, and alive in a way no machine should be. Its hull shimmered with faint light, as if breathing. The symbol of a bird in flight was etched into its nose, wings stretching toward stars it hadn't seen yet. Cade Riven stood before it, drenched in shadows, feeling something like awe press against his ribs. He had seen warships, cruisers, and assassin's craft, but this one felt different. It wasn't built to destroy. It was built to run, to endure, to outlast. She knows you, Lyra said, her voice soft but steady behind him. Cade turned. You make it sound like she's alive. Lyra smiled faintly. Maybe she is. I grew her hull from photonic alloy seeds. She learned shape, not assembly. You don't build something like this, you let it become. Tressa appeared at the edge of the ramp, barefoot as always, her silver-threaded skin reflecting the light of the ship. She's been waiting for the right pilot, she said. She doesn't like the Directorate's signature, but she remembers yours. Cade ran a hand along the hull. The ship thrummed under his touch, a low vibration that felt like recognition. Feels like touching memory, he murmured. Maybe it is memory, Tressa said. Everything remembers something. Even metal. The engines purred to life with a gentle hum. No roar, no flame. Just a deep, steady tone that felt like a heartbeat. Alira's light pulsed brighter in the dark. The Directorate won't stop hunting us, Cade. I'm counting on that, he said, walking toward the cockpit ramp. Hunting keeps them predictable. Inside, the Kestrel 2 was narrow and clean. Minimal controls. No wasted space. The navigation deck glowed with soft silver-blue light, like bioluminescence frozen in circuitry. Tressa slid into the co-pilot's chair. Her fingertips brushed the console, and streams of code rose in the air like shimmering smoke. Navigation online. Star routes hidden behind a quantum mask. If they trace us, they'll be chasing echoes. Cade settled into the pilot's seat. It fit him perfectly, like it had grown around his frame. Feels like coming home. Then fly, Alira said quietly from behind. The engines deepened their tone, vibrating through the floor. The old hangar doors split open with a reluctant groan, letting in a flood of cold, star-streaked light. For a breath, the world held still. Then the Kestrel 2 lifted. No roar, no thunder, just smooth, impossible grace. The ship rose through layers of smog and cloud, breaking into open night. The stars above spread out like a million forgotten stories waiting to be retold. Cade stared ahead. You realize this makes us outlaws in every system, he said. Alira leaned beside him, eyes reflecting starlight. You were never built to follow laws, only to test what happens when they break. He smiled for the first time in years, an unguarded, human smile. You sound like you planned this. I did, she said simply. The day I met a boy who thought maps were better than orders. Tressa's voice chimed softly. We're clear of atmosphere. Destination. Anywhere they've forgotten to look, Cade said. The ship responded with a low hum, the stars bending slightly as the quantum drive engaged. Alira moved to stand beside him, her light reflecting against his worn features. You could have left me, she said. You had every reason to. Yeah, Cade said quietly. But reasons never meant much after you taught me the value of mistakes. The Kestrel 2 slipped into dark space, her engines singing a tone that no machine should know, a tone that sounded almost alive. Behind them, the world they'd escaped shrank into a single point of light. Ahead of them stretched an unmarked sky, waiting to be rewritten. Alira rested a hand on his shoulder. You think ghosts ever stop running? Cade looked at her, then at the child who hummed softly while talking to the ship's code. No, he said, but maybe this time we're not running from something. Maybe we're running toward it. The ship shuddered as it crossed into slipspace, leaving behind the Directorate's reach. Inside that endless current of stars, the three of them, soldier, alien, and child, became what the Directorate had never planned for, a family that refused to end. And as the universe stretched around them, the copper kestrel pendant hanging from the control panel caught a glint of starlight, shining like a promise that even in the darkest void, humanity still remembered how to build hope that could fly. Months passed in silence between stars. The Kestrel 2 became a ghost whispered about in smuggler bars and encrypted Directorate briefings. Some called it a myth. Others swore they'd seen its wake, a streak of green and gold light vanishing into nowhere. Inside, life found a rhythm. Cade Riven repaired, planned, and listened to the ship breathe. Alira tended the hydroponic lights and taught Tressa how to read the sky like her mother once taught her. And Tressa, the girl who could speak to machines, kept building worlds out of code, worlds no Directorate would ever rule. But peace never lasts for those built from rebellion. It began with a flicker, a whisper in the comma ray, one that shouldn't have been there. Tressa's eyes snapped open mid-dream. She ran to the console. Someone's knocking, she said softly. Cade appeared beside her, half-dressed, a pistol already in hand. Who? Not the Directorate, she said. Something older. Static turned into a voice, calm, broken by distance. Kestrel 2, this is Morin. Alira froze. He should be dead. Cade's jaw tightened. Or too proud to stay buried. The voice continued. You think you won. But you didn't burn the roots. You only pruned the branches. The Directorate has evolved. And it remembers you. Then silence. A single pulse of coordinates followed. Transmission origin. Deep orbit. Sector 9. Cade stared at the display. He wants us to come. Alira shook her head. It's a trap. Of course, he said. That's why we're going. Tressa frowned. You're not serious. I'm tired of running, Kate said quietly. If they remember us, then it's time we remind them why. The Kestrel 2 changed course without another word. Stars bent, space shivered, and they slipped toward the coordinates like a blade returning to its sheath. The orbiting platform in Sector 9 looked abandoned, an old relay station drifting between moons. But as they approached, the station woke. Lights flared. Automated turrets rotated. Tressa reached into the systems like a whisper through water. They've sealed every exit. Cade nodded. Then we make a new one. The ship dove. Alarm screamed. Beams of plasma cut through darkness, slicing empty air where the Kestrel 2 had been a second before. Cade flew like he'd been born for this. Every move sharp, precise. Instinct turned into art. Hold steady, Illyra called out. Port side shield at 60. Tressa's fingers danced through glowing code. I can overload their targeting net for 7 seconds. 7's enough. The ship flipped, fired 2 pulse charges, and spun through the explosion like a bird bursting from its own ashes. They broke through the outer hull of the station and landed in its heart, metal screaming around them. Cade and Illyra stepped out together. The air was thick with the hum of reactors. And there, waiting, was Director Morin. Older, thinner, half of his body now mechanical. I told you, he said, voice distorted but steady. You can't erase the Directorate. We are the system. Cade leveled his pistol. Then it's time the system learned to bleed. Illyra raised her palm, green light flowing through her veins like liquid fire. Morin smiled. You've both forgotten, human and Verdun, both children of chaos. You can't destroy order. You can only delay it. Then we'll keep delaying, she said. Tressa's voice echoed through their comms. Mom, Dad, step back. The lights dimmed. Every screen on the station flickered to life, filled with swirling streams of silver code. Tressa's code. You wanted evolution, she said through the speakers. Here it is. The entire station went still. The machines turned their weapons on themselves. The floors trembled. The air shimmered with digital heat. Morin looked around, panicked. What are you doing? Tressa's voice was calm. Teaching your network a new language. One built on compassion, not control. Then the lights went out. When they came back, the Directorate's main node was gone. Deleted. The structure still stood, but the system that had ruled half the galaxy was empty, its code rewritten into silence. Cade exhaled slowly. You killed it. No. Tressa said, stepping from the ship's ramp. I freed it. Morin fell to his knees, a man who had built a god and watched it choose kindness. You don't understand what you've done. Tressa smiled faintly. Neither did you. Illyra reached for Cade's hand. He took it. The three of them stood amid the ashes of order, the light of distant stars reflecting in their eyes. What now? Illyra asked. Cade looked up at the endless night. Now we find others who've been silenced. The galaxy's full of them. And the Directorate? He smirked. Let them rebuild. Every empire needs a myth to fear. Weeks later, in a Shadowport bar at the edge of known space, a young woman in a dark coat told the story to a group of wide-eyed pilots. They said the Directorate fell in a night, she whispered.